Sharice, I was wondering if you could just go through maybe your thoughts on inclusion programs. We were talking a little bit about that before before everyone hopped on, but I'd like to hear a little bit more about benefits, positives, negatives. My child is in an inclusion program, and I think it's amazing, and so I'd like to hear your take on that.
Well, I could be biased because I'm actually one of the co-leads of an inclusion project. So, um, as someone who's done a lot of special education in the classroom and actually in early intervention is a good place to really see the effects of inclusive best practices. It's just really helpful for all people involved, not just the student with a service plan and not even just the children, but also the adults. I think there's a level of compassion that all people really develops, understanding that everyone is different and everyone learns different and might need some support in different ways. I know when I used to push in to provide speech therapy services in a preschool classroom, one of the biggest things, I used to often say to other students, like, oh, so and so is having trouble with their sounds, but it's okay because we all have difficulties with something. And I ask, well, what do you think is difficult? Or what do you think is hard? And start, really teaching children that, we're all different. We all have some weaknesses and some strengths, and how can we best help one another? I know you were talking about how your daughter's like pushing other students in their wheelchair to different places around the school. And, that's really great to see when something as simple as like school plays or the school assembly, where all the students are actually together and they all look different. And, you might have one child who might not have the best attention span. So they sit and they run around, and they sit and then they run around. But then you give them maybe something fun to do, like maybe they run with a tambourine, and you figure out different ways to really play up what a child's strengths are, to keep them included in the environment. One thing that I would like to see more of is the changing of the beliefs and attitudes of adults. I think there was this belief decades ago that children with disabilities, they can't learn well with other students. They might slow them down. They'll take up too much time from the teacher, and the other students not be will not get the support they need. And that's for special education teachers, or that's for the speech language pathologists or physical therapists. I need to be outside. But I think what you're doing is you're really not looking at how all children, even children without service plans, they just learn differently, and really encouraging adults to see that there's value in the differentiation of instruction, but also, teaching all things in different ways to support everyone. I myself, I'm not the best person to really listen to things for a long time. And even when I was in my speech therapy training program, I didn't do well on one of those tests that was all auditory. I got one of the scores that's very low average, like a point away from disordered. And I said, oh, well, this makes so much sense, because I tell people all the time, when they always ask me a question, I go, huh? I was like, Sharice, you heard me. You want to respond to huh? I said, yeah, I heard you. I didn't understand the words you said because, I need all the attention. I need to look at you. But it's something just as simple as that for adults to understand, like, it's not just for students with disabilities, it's for all students. So I think the benefit of inclusion programs is just for the adults and the children. As I said many times, is just to see the value of just learning and seeing people in all their differences.